and being willing to share um, and listen to our guest speaker.
Mhm.
For those of you tuning in with us, we are here with Sheriff Rasheed, is correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then I am Nicole Beck. I'm the lead student coordinator with First Generation Initiatives, and I'll be the moderator today. But before we get started, I would like everyone to look over in the chat room, and down below on the bottom of your screen, you'll see a chat box. If you're not familiar, please click that. And in the chat, there'll be a link. Please sign in. And then if you come to 2 of our workshops, then you will have a chance to win an Amazon gift card. But it's also nice to know just who came and so we can know who's participating in our virtual workshops. Also, if you wouldn't mind muting your camera or your audio while our presenter is speaking, that would help reduce the amount of just extra noise. But yeah, I think we can just go ahead and get started. Sharif, are you ready?
Yes.
So if you wouldn't mind just telling us about a little bit about yourself, your background, and a little bit about your first gen story, and then how that process brought you to grad school.
My name is Sheriff Rasheed. I'm originally from Nigeria. I have, right from my, young adults, due to my disability, I know the only thing I can use to change my life is education. That has been very, my passion from the beginning. I want to go to school because I grew up in a culture that doesn't, treat individuals with disability the way they should be treated. And that spurred me to action of, getting my education. And I had my bachelor's degree in Nigeria, after, different trials to gain admission. I finished my bachelor's degree. And after my bachelor's degree, I thought, oh, I think I still need to do more. And I was looking at different schools, throughout the world because I wanted to go like, foreign school just. And I was doing my research. I read about Helen Keller, who had a disability. She was blind, and that really spurred me to action. I feel like, oh, if she can do it, I can do it as well. She was blind, she was deaf, and this and that. And I started looking for schools in the US, and found a school in Michigan. There's a story behind that, because when I was reading about, I did special education. I was looking at different options of special education in different colleges, and I saw that the Individual with Disability Education Act, like ADA law, was passed by former President Gerald Ford. And I was, oh, where was he from? And I said, oh, he was from Michigan. And I said, oh, I would like to go and study in Michigan. And I started applying to schools in Michigan, and I got accepted into Grand Valley State University in Grand Rapids, Michigan, for my master's in special education with concentration in emotional impairment. That was in 2013. And I started my graduate education in 2013, and I finished in December of 2014 with my master's in special education. you know, After finishing my master, I had some struggle because I'm international student. Some funding might not be available for you. You have limited, financial resources. Applied for scholarships. I got some. I didn't get some. I was lucky to get a graduate assistantship position. I was working with professor, helping them with research. That really helped me a lot in paying for my tuition. And after I graduated, applied to, I did my OPT. I don't know if you guys are familiar with OPT, like optional practical training for international students. And I got a job in Wisconsin. I started working in Wisconsin in 2015. I stayed there for like a year and a half, and I came here in 2016 as an accessibility coordinator, where we provide academic accommodations to students with different disabilities. I'm happy, for what I'm currently doing because this is what I wanted to do right from the beginning, helping individuals with disabilities through education. Each time I look back on what I have done in life, how I got here, I feel proud. And seeing individuals with disabilities or people from low income background or immigrant students, all sort of non-traditional students, helping them has been my passion. I feel proud doing that. That's how I got here.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my
Um,
story.
so you mentioned that you were having trouble in the very beginning financially
Mhm.
until you got the grad assistantship program or
Yes.
position. Can you tell more how you learned to advocate for yourself in that way, or maybe some mentors that help guide you that direction?
hmm Yeah, it could be difficult, but you had to be pushing because if you were turned down, that doesn't mean the end of the world. Like I said, I applied to different scholarships, maybe 20, 30. I only got like two, many failures, but that didn't, maybe because how I was raised or my experiences, growing up in Nigeria, a lot of frustrations, disappointments. I open up to different. I don't, if I see an office that I think can help me, I will go to them. I'll ask them, is there a way you can help me? This is what I'm looking for. Share my story with them. Send my resume. Apply to different things. Some of them will help. Some of them, oh, we are sorry, we cannot help you because of, you are international students. But the reason why I got my position was I spoke to the chair of my department and I explained everything to them after I have done like a year of my graduate studies. And I said, oh, for me to continue with this program, I will need financial support. And she spoke to the dean, and the dean said, oh, we might have something available for you next semester if you don't mind. It wasn't even a full, assistantship. It was a part, like partial, assistantship. They paid my tuition, I think 6 credits of my tuition was paid, and I was getting like $500 stipend. That really went long, in helping me in finishing my education.
Yeah. So Stephanie actually has a question here in the chat box. Do you think there are many scholarships for grad school, or are they limited? And how has your experience been with that?
I believe there are many scholarships out there for students for graduate school, but it depends on how far you can go. Because even if you don't, you might think there's no money. There are some scholarships out there, they don't receive application for them. But if you don't know, you don't know. I will recommend students to work with their financial aid office a lot. Even if it's not, the university funding, they might be able to suggest like external fundings for students. For the fact that it's not on their, website, doesn't mean there's no money out there waiting for students to apply. It doesn't. I had like, external funding, like scholarships, though it might be like 1,500 or something, but it's still something. That wasn't through my university. I applied to different, scholarships outside of my university. I'm sorry, my internet might be breaking. I don't have like strong connection today. Yeah,
It's okay. We can hear you.
there are many scholarships out there, and you can also tailor that to your own circumstance. I know for students who have disability, there might be scholarship for people with disabilities. There might be scholarship for like female in engineering, like scholarship for immigrants, to all sort of your own circumstance. There are some need-based scholarships. There are some that are merit-based scholarships. You just need to look for the one that you think fits your profile.
Would you recommend just applying to as many as you possibly can, or do you think that there are?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I would say that. Because sometimes you look at the requirements, this you feel like you don't meet the requirements, but if you share your story with them, they might give you a second look and say, "Oh, we might want to consider this applicant." But
Okay.
if you just rule yourself out from the beginning, you are not going to get it.
Mhm. So there's another question here, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
Samantha says, you mentioned that you looked into schools based on your disability. What sort of things did you look out for that you would recommend to students who also have disabilities?
Because individual, circumstances different. If you have a disability, you want to look at, how accessible is the university that you are applying to. You want to check with their disabilities office. What do they offer to their, student with disabilities? You want to, you can call the office, you can send email to them, ask, you can ask, how do you feel I'm going to be if I apply and I got accepted? What are the things you do? And things like that. That will give you some sense of how accessible is the school. And you can also ask them about funding as well, because some schools they have funding, some they don't. It depends on which school you are attending. Mine was specifically because of the Individual with Disability Education Act that I know it was in Michigan. Had I know Michigan was very cold, I wouldn't have gone there. Not until when I got there and oh, this is very horrible for me, very cold. But it is, I survived.
Okay, so let's back it up. So you said you went to undergraduate school in Nigeria, is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
So what was your transition like moving on to grad school what was the differences between going to school in Nigeria versus going to grad school in Michigan?
Wow. A great, like, it was difficult. I can't lie to you. It was very, very difficult. But I have the spirit of this is what I came for. No matter how difficult it is, I'm going to do it. I've experienced different things in life, though this might be different from what I've experienced before, but I can still apply that to my transition. When I got here, I came in December and I started school in January. That was the peak of snow in Michigan. I had to go to class. Sometimes I'll be stuck with, riding the driveway. I'll be stuck on my scooter with snow everywhere. I'll call my, professor. I'm running late because of the snow. They understand. They'll just be flexible with me and make sure that I explain my situation to them. I'm very passionate. I want to do this, even though I may have some physical, limitation. Most professors will understand that as long as they see that you are willing to do it, they see that you are making, you know, efforts to do it, and they were very supportive of me. And another thing is the style from Nigerians education that I had was different from here. Mine was more of theory based, like everything is writing paper. We only had maybe a few assignments, but here it's more practical, like you had to do this presentation, things like that. That was very different from what my background was, but I tried to adjust as time goes on. I started poorly, with the second semester I catch up. I did things the way I think should be done, but it was very difficult at the beginning.
And so you talked about just the type of teaching that happens in grad school. Was there anything like structural differences? Like, was there more flexibility as far as like what classes you could take, or just the overall arching structure of grad school versus undergraduate school?
I think grad school is more structured than undergrad. The class, the the class size is very small. Sometimes we might be like 5 or 10 in a class compared to undergrad, which you might be like, 100, 200. But in grad school, the largest class I had was like 20. And, it's more of practical thing, presentation, working on your project. Though there's freedom in that, but the everything is structured. You have to present, work in group with your group classmates. That was different from the undergrad, maybe because of the number of people in the class compared to when you have like 10 students. It's easier. And you and your professor, you are like colleagues. You sit down with your professor, you discuss, topics, and you offer some suggestion. Sometimes they'll take it, sometimes they'll, recommend some other thing to consider.
So we have some other questions here, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that you applied to many scholarships, but only obtained two. Did the scholarships ever tell you why you did not receive those?
Yeah, it's just generic, response. We are sorry we didn't, offer you this. You can apply next time. I don't think any of them told me why they didn't give me the scholarship. I just say thank you, just move on.
Do you have any recommendations for the two um, that you did obtain? To how might you write a better scholarship essay or
Yeah, I would say because you, you want to tell your story is very important. You want to, because everyone is unique. Nobody is the same. You want to make sure that you explain how you are different, how, you fit with this scholarship. Especially, I use my story to, spur some actions. If you can tell a good story and connect that with the scholarship and your education, your past, your present, and your future. What you want, if you get this scholarship, what you want to, how do you want to transform the society? Because the aim of all these scholarships is they want someone who will contribute to the society. If you want to connect everything to that, I want to, contribute to the society. That will make you, look great. And yeah.
I think this is a very similar topic to Rachel's question. They say, what is your experience writing so many essays for graduate school and scholarships? And did you reuse essays? And do you have any advice on how to structure those essays?
I did reuse my essay, and I also work with the writing center in my school. You don't want to do it alone yourself. You might want to have like someone, share your essay with them. Sometimes we don't catch an error. Another person might be able to catch it and make some recommendation to you. You don't need to scratch everything start everything from the scratch. It's just about tweaking things. Make sure you connect it with the one that you are applying to. It depends on how you are able to make connection between things. And if you want to, and you want to read about the background to that scholarship, because sometimes all this money, this scholarship that we are talking about, someone made the donation. If you want to read about why are they giving this scholarship, if you get to know that, that will direct you to link your story to why they are giving out the scholarship. I'm part of a postcard scholarship on campus, and that was being run by the civic engagement office. The reason why they are giving out this scholarship is because I think the person that had the scholarship, he and his wife, they didn't have any children, and they died young, and they put this fund in place for any Colorado student who is willing to contribute to Colorado. If you look at their story, you read about their story, that will give you an insight on how to connect your circumstance to the scholarship.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So Micah says, did they cold call more in grad school?
Did he do what?
Cold call. Um, Micah, can you explain a little bit more or elaborate more on what
Yeah,
that means?
basically, like when I was in air traffic control school, they would explain a method in class, and then you would have to demonstrate it in front of everybody without knowing really anything. And it was okay to not really know the answer, but you're going to be pressed for a long time, like hours, on that method that you were just shown. And it was very stressful and very hard. So I'm just wondering if anybody else had that experience in their grad school.
You mean for grad or for scholarship writing or just grad school?
Grad school mainly, like the scholarships I get, but the grad school experience that I had, it was basically every day I was sweating for 2 or 3 hours hoping I didn't get called on.
Yeah, I understand. Like I said, grad school is different from undergrad. It was more engaging for me because in undergrad you can hide, somewhere you don't want to talk, because there are many students in the class. You might avoid being like someone to talk, but in grad school you are like 10, no matter what. And the class was more even longer, like 2 hours class. It's going to be difficult for you not to speak in class. And your professor, like you said, they can call on you at any time to say something. But they're not gonna, embarrass you. If you don't know it, you don't know it. That's how I look at it.
It might depend on what you're going to school for. I don't know if the two other people I know who did go to grad school or are currently going, they want to speak more about their personal experiences. I'm actually specifically calling on Sam and Tisha that I know
I was answering a private message to me.
okay.
Can you repeat the question that you asked? Sorry.
So Mike was talking about cold call and how the structure of the classroom is a little bit different. And so if it's a smaller classroom size, what might that look like? And is it a stressful environment if you don't know the answer or don't know I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Micah, I don't think I experienced anything quite to the level that you're describing. That sounds really intense. But I do think that there's added pressure to keep up with readings and to be constantly producing quality work. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So I had a cohort style grad program. So we all came in at the same time, took the exact same classes, graduated at the exact same time. And to me, that atmosphere was pretty competitive. And so the class atmosphere was definitely like, you should be responding to questions. You should have come with, even though we had to read like 3 books for this one class period, you should come read up and know what you need to say during that time. We didn't get called on specifically. I think a couple of professors did that on occasion, but it was more, in my opinion, pressure from my peers to maintain this competitive level, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, I get that. That makes sense. It was mainly, since it was military for me, it was mainly my instructors. And if you didn't do well, you didn't get to really choose where you got to go. So if you did poorly in your graduating class, then you could get sent to the crappiest place on earth. But if you did the best in the class, then you get to choose.
Sounds stressful.
Yeah, it does. I think with other types of grad programs, it just depends more on like your writing and your research and those kinds of things determining your path.
I agree.
Would you say that in grad school, you have to take more responsibility for your own work and keep up with your own, keep up with the coursework on your own more so than an undergraduate?
Yes. And I also want to talk about plagiarism. You want to be, sound in how you write. The quality of the work is very different from undergrad. You want to be, making sure that you know how to cite, making references, because any plagiarism issue can, cause you a lot of problem. If you don't know whether you are doing that or you don't know how to cite, I would recommend that you work with your writing center on campus, so that they can make suggestions. Before I came, I didn't know anything about APA format, things like that. It took me some time before I figured out how to cite and how to make references, and that was very, helpful. And another thing I wanted to say is, my home grad school, because it's education, most of my classmates, they are already in the field teaching. And my class is like from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, twice a week. It's not like, something you wake up in the morning and go to class. I had to, wait until like 6 o'clock in the evening before I go to class, because, these are teachers who have been teaching in the field. And some, I believe most grad school students, they have their home job. If not full time, they have maybe part-time job that they are working, and you can incorporate that to your own work as well. Let's say you are writing something, you can link that to your projects. That's how I see it.
Yeah, so you mentioned a lot of grad school students are currently working, and Sam asked
Yeah.
a long time ago. You mentioned earlier that you have children. Did you have children while you were in graduate school? And
I
can you
had
share
one
what
kid.
that was like? One kid, okay.
I had one daughter when I was in grad school, and it was tough. But what I did was, if I had any assignment to work on, I will make sure that it's going to be when she's already gone to sleep, go to bed, like 7, 8 in the evening, and I'll work till like 12 a.m. because I knew that I'm not going to do a quality job, working while she's still awake. She would distract me and I would do this and that, but I tried to manage my time by making sure I work, over the night, and that helped.
And was your biggest challenge time, or were there other challenges going with that?
Yeah, I don't, as long as you know how to manage your time, things will be fine for you. You want to have like a calendar of, when things should be done. And if you are running behind or something, seek out for help. Don't keep everything to yourself. If you think something is not clear to you, ask your professors. Like I do tell my students, professors, they are human beings. They want to help you, but you have to go to them, advocate for yourself if you need help. If something is not clear to you, ask for them. They'll be willing to support you.
Yeah, that's great advice. So Marie asks, how important are the admission test scores, undergraduate grades, recommendations, statements on applications, experience, and other requirements?
Yeah, that's a lot. Because every program is different. Some programs, they want you to do GRE. You want to start early and you want to read the requirement of the admissions, what would be a good score for them. For my own program, we didn't do GRE, but we had like a departmental, standardized exam that is sent to me, and I completed that, online. And I think I scored high. And you have to get your transcripts, get everything on time, send it to them. And there are different deadlines. You want to look into that as well, because sometimes you apply and they tell you, "Oh, you applied this year. We are going to, consider you next, admission session." You want to apply on time, read carefully the deadlines for everything. Some of, some scholar, I mean, some admissions, if you apply late, you might get the admission, but you won't be considered for scholarship. I've had that because they just consider those who apply, I think December 1st or something. Maybe this is for international students, but if you don't apply on time, you might not be considered for some certain funding.
What was the hardest part about the application process for you when applying to grad school?
I would say the standardized test, the department test, didn't tell me what it's going to base on. And they just sent me some guidelines on how to prepare for the exam. And they gave me like a week or two to prepare. And I prepared for that. That was the most difficult part. And the essay piece as well is difficult. But, like I said, this is what I wanted to do. I share my story with them. And, this is special education that connect with my passion and what I want to do. And after I graduate, this is where I want to see myself working, helping individuals with disability. Yeah.
So Sam asks, as a first generation person from Nigeria and someone who has a disability, did you experience any discrimination or bias at your school? And how did you handle that?
Yeah, like you gotta life. You can't change people's mind. There are some things you cannot change in this world, but you just keep going. I did experience discrimination on the basis of my disability more in Nigeria than here. The cultures are different. We didn't even have much of a disabilities office in Nigeria. Everyone is treated the same regardless of whether you have a disability or not. They just think, oh, maybe it's not smart, that's why I didn't get it. But they didn't consider your disability, that this might be, create some barriers. But here we have the disabilities office that can look into that and say, oh, maybe if we give this student extra time for tests, or maybe we had this student to test differently. There wasn't much of that in Nigeria. And yeah, the only thing I can think of is a mobility issue, getting to class on time due to snow. Yeah, I would say, I don't know. You can't read people's mind. You don't know whether they are discriminating against you because you are black or because you have a disability. But I've had people who think, oh, you're an international student, you have an accent or something like that. I've experienced such discrimination, but you still need to move forward. You can't just stop, because what is driving me is more than, that.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like you are very good at advocating for yourself and reaching out to others for help. And so I would think that you would tell others to do the same. Is that
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
know how to advocate for myself. If I need something, I'll go for it. If you say no, I know that's not going to be the end of the world. I'll just move forward.
mhm. Yeah, so it's better to take that risk and ask others for help or recommendations, and that's sort of how you found yourself in that part-time grad assistant program
Hmm.
also. So I think that it sounds to me like you are determined and resilient,
Yes.
much like of other first generation students.
Yeah, I know it could be difficult for if you are a first generation student, your parents don't go to school. You might not even have siblings that goes to school. That makes it difficult for you because you don't even know how to do this, application. I've been doing my, application right from maybe sixth grade, because my mom and dad they don't know how to read and write. I will be their, guidance, when it comes to school. It's like someone here whose parents don't speak English. He or she is the one interpreting for their parents. He's an adult in himself, guiding his or her parent. That was my experience too. How just, I've been doing it myself for the rest of my life, like doing it, no help from my parents, you know, it doesn't make it difficult for me when I get here. And no matter what, I still know that I'm gonna do it. because I've been doing it before I came here.
Hmm. So it sounds like it could be very kind of isolating to do that all by yourself without any kind of parental guidance or anyone else there supporting
Yeah.
you. Whenever you were going through these processes, did you find support in school activities or other community member like groups or peer
Mm-hmm.
groups?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did join like international student office, and like I said, we do have like international student office on campus. Try to join different, organizations. There's a departmental student organization for special education too. Try to join that. Try to make some connections, networking, stuff. Sometimes something can come out of that as well, because you don't just keep quiet, don't keep everything to yourself, reach out for help and make connections on campus. That can also go a long way in helping.
So how diverse were your classes during grad school?
My class is very, very like 99% white. It's Michigan, Grand Rapids. It's not diverse, but it is what it is. I don't look for, I didn't even think I considered diversity before I applied. I just know that this is what I want to do. I don't care. I just look at it and go for it. It depends on where you are. I've lived in Wisconsin before I came here. It was like 99.9% white, college town. But you might have some cultural differences. As long as you are flexible, you understand that differences, you should be fine. And if you think this is not for you, you can try to switch or change your environment or move elsewhere. That's how I see it.
Did you ever experience any self-doubt?
This is how I look at it. Self-doubt sometimes could be good, because you don't if you like you don't have self-doubt, you might be complacent. Sometimes you just feel, will I be able to do this? That will give you some inspiration to make sure you work hard. And when you do it, you see it as an accomplishment. I don't think there's no one in this world that will not have some self-doubt for some certain things. It's human. That's how I look at it. It's just like you don't want to do that. You don't want to have a lot of self-doubt, but sometimes it's good. I did have some self-doubt, but I just look it as, learning process for me to work hard.
It's a very resilient attitude. I'm sure a lot of people can respect that. So Stephanie asks, what words of encouragement would you give a person like myself who is first gen and belonging to a marginalized group?
I would say you should believe in yourself and don't think that everything will be rosy. The road might be rough some days, but just have that internal, spirit that this is what I want to do, no matter how difficult it is now. Just keep looking at your dream. Once I achieve this dream, that will just clear everything, because nobody is going to have it. Be tough, might be rough, but when you achieve it, you achieve it. Everyone will be, looking at that as an accomplishment. Believe in yourself and try to seek out for help, because nobody can do it alone. There are different, people out there that want to help, but if you don't go to them, ask for help, they are not going to know how to help you. And if you experience disappointment, don't think that that's the end of the world. Just, keep going. Don't let that discourage you from achieving your dream.
It's great. Um, what did you enjoy most about grad school?
Hmm. Let me see. I think the connection that I made with the international student office, I still have them, because I do go to Michigan once a year. And each time I go, I make sure that I visit my school. The director of the International Student Office really helped me. And we were like a colleague. She's like 40 or 45. We just work like a colleague. We share, jokes. The connection that I make with the school is very, lasting. And I see I've donated to them. I've, contributed to the scholarship, too, just to give back to the community. I think that would be the best.
That's nice. Do you have a memory from grad school where you're sitting in the class and you think to yourself, wow, I'm really doing it?
Think when I first came,
I don't know. Oh, I think. Oh no.
I think it froze.
Yeah, I think you're frozen. I thought that one was going to be a really good one.
No, that's a good one. Because I never thought of anything good. I always thought like, okay, let me make it 2 more weeks.
Yeah, let's end on a good note, but now we're frozen.
I'm sure you had something good to say.
Let's just wait a bit to see if
Yeah.
we can make it back. Make sure to remember to sign in using the link as well. Oh, you guys got. Let me put it right here.
Micah, you mentioned that you also went to grad school. Maybe do you want to share a little bit?
Yeah. Mine was military, and it wasn't by choice. I joined the military to be a tank crewman, and then I went to boot camp and found out I was being an air traffic controller, and that I already had an associate's. I actually got that before I graduated high school, and they said they were going to push me through my bachelor's, and then I could work on my master's after I'm enlisted. And it was extremely stressful. It was 9 months, and it was, sun up to sundown, still doing military, and it was a very brutal program, and the attrition rate was about 75%. So basically every 2 weeks you would get graded on your progress, and if you didn't meet the standards, then you would get pushed back, and you'd get pushed back. And I luckily never got pushed back, but I finished second in my class, so I could get to choose wherever I wanted to go on Earth.
Where
Thank
did you
you
choose?
for that.
That sounds really intense.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about money. They want you to be in the workforce as soon as possible and to be the best that you can, and they want to push you as hard as they can. And then once you're in the fleet, as they call it, the workforce, you're essentially kind of just on your own program just as long as you work. You're regulated 8 hours a day and breaks and all that. So it's all, you coast after that. But to get there, it's extremely stressful, and not many people make it. It's about 1% of 1% that make it.
So are you considering going to a...
Oh, it looks like we might
conference?
have, I'm sorry, really quick. It looks like we might have gotten Rasheed back on, but I don't know if he's able to rejoin us right now. Sorry, because he was gone and then I just saw him come back.
No, you're
so.
good. I see it.
Sharif. We'll wait. Unless everyone had great questions, by the way. Please add more if you have anything. Really helps me out.
Yeah, same here. These are things that I didn't even think of for law school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because in my grad school, I never even enjoyed class. I hated the entire thing.
I think that through the challenges, you can learn to enjoy it. And there are minor successes everywhere. How would you get through it unless you make little minor achievements throughout the way. I think that's how you make the best of it.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. I just didn't recognize it at the time. I just was stressed out the entire time.
Yeah, sure. I'm not trying to say you needed to be positive in that moment at all.
No, I understand. I mean, it was a great accomplishment. That's what I get out of it, but it was still horrible for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad to hear that you still have a goal in going to law school.
Yeah, hopefully next fall or the fall after that, I'll be going to NYU.
Wow. So what do you think we should do here, Sam?
I did send him an email just
Okay.
to see if he could rejoin us, if he's able to. I don't know if he received it or not. So
I think, you know, we could wait another few minutes, and if he's not able to rejoin just because of internet connection, we could just end the call. I was thinking if I had his number, I could call him and just put my phone to the thing. Oh wait, that's
Aw.
weird. Sorry.
So Rachel does ask, are there any workshops for writing essays for school? And
That's a good question.
I do. We did have workshops in person, hosted by our office and others, but do you know of any virtually or any resources from the Writing Center or financial aid?
I do think that the Writing Center they do advertise that they can help with grad school essays. And I thought I saw once that they had a workshop on that. But you know, this time around we didn't include that. But next time that will be something on our list that maybe we can partner with the Writing Center.
Oh, can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so me personally, I reached out digitally and I'm like on LinkedIn, Facebook, everything. I found people that have recently gotten into NYU Law. It's a very competitive and hard school to get into. And I asked them for their essays if they would like provide them. Like obviously you can't plagiarize. I mean, they're gonna catch on to that immediately, but I wanted to see their structure and then I would take notes on it. And so I'd basically take other people's successes and see their structure, and which is something that our speaker talked about, which is like past, present, future. And that's what I utilized, was like, hey, here's my past, here's my struggles and hardships, here's my life, here's what I'm doing now to overcome it, and then here's what I want to do in the future.
oh, here we go.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that tip though, Micah. I do think seeing samples is really helpful.
Yeah.
Glad to have you back, Sharif.
I'm sorry, I just lost my connection.
No problem.
Can you hear me?
Yes. So do you have any final advice? Maybe we don't have any more questions. I think I made it to everyone, but please feel free to add more questions, everyone on the call. But if you have any final notes, that would be great.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
my final note would be for students to know why they want to pursue the graduate education. As long as you keep that at the back of your mind that this is why I want to do this, that will give you some inspiration to overcome any challenge that might come your way, because it's not going to be easy. If it's easy for everyone, everyone will have graduate education. It's tough. Like I said, no one can do anything alone. If you need help, try to reach out for help. You know, the writing center, the financial aid office, different offices on campus, and make connections. Sometimes we don't even get what we want through maybe some connection you make. with graduates. That's how I look at it.
I think we lost you there for a little bit, but if you wouldn't mind repeating just the last little bit.
What I was saying is, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it better now? I was saying, just know why you want to do it and everything for help. Make connection with different people, your professors, your classmates, and, that might help.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great advice, to know why you started it, and then you can kind of reflect back on how you're going to finish it and achieve that goal, and who might you be able to reach out to in order to achieve that goal and make those connections. I agree. And then anyone else have any follow-up questions? And if not, then we can just thank Tisha. Anyone?
No, I just wanted to thank Sheriff for your time. I don't think I've ever met you directly on campus or anything, but I really appreciate you sharing your story and just, making the time to be able to do this, because I think, everybody has a different journey when it comes to grad school. And I think the more perspectives that students hear, the better. So, because I think with grad school, like, you think, oh, if I don't do it this one way, there's only this one way to do it. And if I don't do it, then I'm not going to get in, or, I'm not going to be able to be successful. And I think, I have a bit of a unique grad school story myself. And so I think it's really important to share that with our students. I think we all do. Sam does as well. And I think it's really great that you're able to share that. So thank you. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, same as well. That was great. It was nice hearing people from other backgrounds sharing their stories, especially international. I have a lot of friends that are international, and they don't really talk about their journey getting to America and then doing grad school or anything like that with me.
Yeah, if anyone think they need my advice, or I'm open to work with people. I know I've sent students to Tisha. I have some students that I work with. I just encourage them. If they need advice, I can share my story with them. If I can do it yourself. No, it's plan for everything, but guidance and assistance.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I agree with everything Tisha and Micah said. This was really great. Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Make sure you sign the link in the chat box, the Qualtrics link. Sign in using the Qualtrics link. I can send it again.
Any link?
Right there.
There we go.
I sent it again. And then if you enjoyed this, please come to the next grad school workshop, which is anyone know off?
Tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow, 3 to 4 p.m.?
Yes.
Tomorrow, 3 to 4 p.m. I'll be
I'm
there.
not bored.
I'll be there.
Thank you, Micah.
No, thank you all. I don't know why I'm talking about this crap. I'm not bored.
No, we appreciate it.
Yes, any questions, just let me know.
Okay, well, thank you all. I think with that, we'll just end the meeting unless anyone else has anything else to say. No? Okay, well, thank you. Can we get a round of applause?
Yes, thank you.
Our guest speaker.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Very welcome.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.